Hello YouTubers! It's a couple of hours later, it's still miserable outside, it's getting dark, don't want to really do anything, so I thought I'd crack out another video, but this time about anchor points and releasing. So, quick overall view of it. Anchor point is the place on your face that you draw your string to. I'll also discuss something called a second anchor point, which is where your hand goes afterwards, and we'll talk about that. So, why it's important for a start. Basically, if you're shooting recurve or a sighted bow, like a compound bow, you want everything you do, you want your arm to be in the same place, you want your anchor point to be in the same place, you want your release to be in the same place, because that'll give you what's known as consistent shots. Now that means that they'll all be in the same place. Now this doesn't mean to say that they'll all be in the gold, but they might be all in the red, within circle that much or whatever, you know? That shows that you're consistent with your shot. What you then do with sighted bows is you adjust your sights so it lines up in the middle, so you know when the sight's in the middle, your consistent shots will hit there. As far as I understand it, I'm only a longbow. Obviously it's important because that's how you get accurate as well. Accurate being consistent and in the right place. Happy days. As far as us traditional lot, us longbowers and field recurves and anyone who shoots without any sights goes, it's even more important for us really, because consistency in your form is all that you have. You don't have any sights to rely on, any stabilizers to rely on. Your anchor point is how you are aiming. You need that to be bang on to get those consistent shots. The rest is just learning to look at the target and aim and practice. So yeah, really important for us. So I thought, well, let's talk about it. So, again, I got my bow trainer because we don't want to use a longbow in the house. And we're going to talk about this. So, as I said, anchor point is the point you face you draw your string to. So why do you have a consistent anchor point? You see these YouTube videos of, oh, so-and-so was a master, could shoot from any angle all the time. No, because the difference between shooting with a half-drawn bow there and extended bow here, and maybe from the chest. For a start, you're not going to be able to aim without any sights at all. There's nothing consistent about that. You can't predict where the arrow's going past maybe 5 feet. So ignore all that stuff. Other thing is, your poundage is going to be different. Your bow, especially if you're a longbow, you'll know, it's tillered to a poundage. Mine is 65 pounds at 28 inches, which means, if I draw my bow to 28 inches, it'll be 65 pounds. Less than that won't be 65 pounds, it'll be less. More than that will probably break my longbow, so I don't try to do that. But with a recurve or whatever, it'll probably stack more, so you get 70 pounds at 31 inches or whatever it is. You don't want to do that, really. You want consistency, right? So what we're aiming for is not to draw short and to release backwards, if it makes sense, without taking the string any further backwards. So, yeah, anchor point. So, different people have very different things. My one, I'll come closer to this, the one I like to do is corner of my knuckle to the corner of my lip. And if you really bury it in there, you sort of get a muscle memory of where it should be. Other people have the strings touching their nose, so they know where it is on their face. Other people under the chin for some recurves with sights. I mean, longbow archers occasionally touching their ear, although I don't really like that string, and that scares me a little bit. So I dig, and you can have one finger, you can have your middle finger, it's all personal preference. Find what's right for you, do that. So the idea being is that every time you draw that bow, you'll instinctively come to that point. That'll give you consistency. Hopefully what that means is every time then you go and release, that bit's right. Your draw weight is right. You're shooting the same poundage, which is good. Now we come on to something that is rarely mentioned. I think it's Jeff Callahan. I think that was how you say his name. I watched a video on him talking about a second anchor point, and my tutor actually mentioned it, not quite in the same way, but about the need for continuation after you release. You get a lot of people on videos on YouTube, and you see a lot of them in competitions. They do this thing, they draw their bow back, and then they release it, and they don't move their hand at all. And you get the other ones that do this massive drawback, and then they're flaming out here. And then you get the ones that do something similar, they draw it back, and then they release down there. And that's not consistency. What's happening is, because you're doing different things with that hand, you're getting different things on the string. So, to slow it down and give you an idea, what you want is a draw, a hold, and a release. Now, I release to my shoulder. I know Jeff releases up to his ear. The idea is you want a smooth place you can move to that's not too far away, that doesn't adjust your body stance or your body weight at all. Okay? Reason for that being is when you let go of a string, if I draw like this, and then I turn it to you this way, what happens when you let go of this is, if you ping it by just going, you get this sort of wobble off the string like this. Now, you've got to remember that your arrow's attached to that. So if you're getting this massive wobble of the string going, what's happening is your arrow's coming off it like this. It's going, ooh, and rattling off, and you can hear it. You can hear people's release, and their arrows will rattle off their bow, and they go, oh, it's a funny noise. Well, yeah, you've just done this silly ping release, and the arrow's gone everywhere. No, you want a consistent release. Your second anchor point is important. So again, like with your first one, you pick where it's going to be. I pick my shoulder, and I've got a spot there that I touch every time. Jeff, I know, releases up to his ear. But you want to get there quick, and you want to get there smooth. So it's draw, hold, release. That's all it is. It's barely noticeable, and you do it without thinking. But I used to sit there in front of a target at 10 meters and not worry about hitting it. Didn't look on the target where I was releasing. Could have closed my eyes if I wanted to, but that's not safe, don't do that. But basically, yeah, just release. And just concentrating, not really focusing on the target, on every time that release touches the same spot on my shoulder. And eventually, you forget you're doing it, and you can start aiming again then, and then you pick it up and you go, I'm touching that same spot all the time. And that's good, because what that means then is the variation in your release will be the same all the time. You don't get that odd wobble of the string, which is really important. Jeff also talked about the importance of this in recurve over longbow. Longbow, because you have quite a narrow, stiff stick that doesn't really twist. You don't get much wobble with it. But from another aspect, it's quite important because you don't have anything to fall back on. Recurves, on the other hand, because you have quite thin limbs, you can, and try it, you can twist your limbs quite easily. Don't snap one, that's bad. You can twist your limbs, and that odd release in the vibration can actually throw your shot off a lot more with a recurve bow. So one way I also, when I first picked up my longbow, is I went back to an 18-pound recurve bow and tried my release techniques there and learned there, because it's exaggerated so much more with a lighter poundage bow. It's a real good way to train yourself up. So yeah, that's really all I've got to say now. Remember your second anchor points, learn them, keep them consistent. Pick one, don't, this is my anchor point. No, you're not touching anything. You need to touch another part of your body to register where it is. Do it quick, do it fast, do it consistent, and practice it. That's all I got to say. Skirmish out.